Welcome into the Inside Scoop. We are live from Nashville, Tennessee. Today is Thursday, March 27th, and I am your host, Josh Newberg. And look at us, back here to talk recruiting once again. We got a lot to cover in this one. Another really busy weekend on today's show. We are talking Texas recruiting, Alabama, USC, and more. Big show. Let's get to it. Let's talk some Texas Longhorn recruiting. Now, we know the Longhorns are always chasing five stars, but there's a couple former five stars on campus. One that I want to know about now that spring ball is underway. How is Arch Manning looking? What are the early returns on his spring?
Yeah, so the day after the Ohio State Cotton Bowl loss, the reins were handed over to Arch Manning. It wasn't a formal affair, but it was made known pretty quickly that this is his team now. He's the new sheriff, and he's going to run things. And here's the thing. He never had to say a word to do it. There's something gravitational about this guy that just everyone flocks to. And early on in 7-on-7s, winter workouts, he's doing what he always does, throwing routes, all those kind of things. I mean, he would do this separately from what the practice regimen would be. Now they started spring ball on Tuesday. The kid comes out throwing straight dots. I have a couple of the clips on my Twitter account. I mean, he hit Ryan Wingo on an end that was just perfect. He hit Parker Livingstone on a corner flag route that was just perfect. And what you notice about Arch is he's a little bigger, a little stronger. He still has the same motions. Everything is very natural for him, but you can just tell he's got a different kind of swagger. He's got a little bit of an aura now because he knows this is his bunch, and he knows they're only going to go as far as he takes them. But the thing about Arch is you keep waiting for, he didn't do this well, or, he messed this up, and I still haven't seen that. We still haven't covered that. This kid is so freaking prepared. He is so dialed in on what is important is right now. And it's building that camaraderie with that new wide receiver room. Besides DeAndre Moore and Ryan Wingo, that's a completely different room. Parker Livingstone, redshirt freshman, Aaron Beller, redshirt freshman. They're gonna factor in. And then you got the 2 5-stars that came in, and Khalid Lockett and Jamie French, Dalen McCutcheon, big high 4 stars, another guy making waves. But Arch is having to build some symbiotic stuff with these new guys. And that's what he was doing that in January. He was doing that in February. He was doing that in March. We got to see it firsthand this week. He looks tremendous, guys. Like, I feel like we say that all the time, but he looks bigger. He looks stronger, and he just looks like it's his turn.
Some great intel here from Justin Wells of Inside Texas. Texas fans got to be excited about this one. Now let's talk some recruiting. But first, Texas fans, do me a favor and hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. All right, so big names on campus this weekend, and in just a few hours, Xavier Crowell, the number 2 ranked running back in America, borderline 5-star prospect. He will be at Texas. Where do you think the Horns stand with Crowell heading into this visit?
This is going to be interesting because Texas was in a good spot with Crowell when Tashard Choice was the running back coach, and it was always going to be a battle to pull him out of Alabama. Whether it's the Crimson Tide or it's War Eagle, those two seem to have a pretty good in on the in-state stud. So Choice leaves to the Motor City in the NFL, and Crowell's, hey, I'm out. I'm cutting this off. No more visits. I'm gonna rearrange this. Chad Scott got involved quickly, and after it took him 24 hours to connect with Crowell and get that back on track. Not only did he get it back on track, he got the official visit reset for early June. Now he's on campus for the next 3 days. He's going to be here today, tomorrow, and then on Saturday as well for the recruiting, somewhat of a recruiting event. Not anything big, but mostly just some big-time names coming in to watch practice. And so the biggest thing with Crowell is that he's open to leaving the state. He has made that known. And he is a special back. There's just so many things he does. He's watching how Texas uses their running backs, from Bijan Robinson to Rashawn Johnson to Jonathan Brooks to Trey Wisner and Jaden Blue. He sees, and we're seeing more and more recruits see this pipeline from Sark in the last 3 or 4 years. Corral recognizes that. He loves the offense, loves the scheme, loves the idea of playing with a guy like an Arch Manning or a KJ Lacey or a Diabell. But ultimately, it's Chad Scott getting back into this recruitment. He's made him a priority. If KJ Edwards is the in-state priority, Xavier Crowell is the out-of-state guy. And so Texas gets a chance to see these guys face-to-face, hang out with the parents, answer a lot of questions. Crowell's going to get to sit on in team meetings, kind of hang out with some of the players, get to ask them questions. This is exactly what you want. And again, he just came off a visit to Alabama, I believe Tuesday, where he got to sit in on meetings, watch practice, got to talk to the staff. Listen, getting him from the Crimson Tide is going to be tough. Auburn's also got a great beat there. I think Georgia's also in the works. But the fact that he's coming back for 3 days, this is where Texas can make their mark. If they want to put a dent in this recruitment and become a real big factor like Bama, like Auburn, they're going to have to show it over the next 3 days.
All right, so Xavier Crowell is one of a handful of these elite reclassifications that we've seen. Havon Finney, he's another. Booby Feaster at wide receiver, he's another. And there's a new one we got to talk about. Edge Richard Wesley, out of California, newly reclassified. He's going to be one of these elite reclassifications. So we know Texas is involved, but how involved are they?
They're very involved. They only have 3 edge players set for official visits in June. There's only 3. And Richard's one of them. With a lot of these reclassifications, not a lot, with some of them you do worry about how old they are and how physically ready they're going to be, skipping that senior year and that sort. You don't with Richard Wesley. You don't. Or his teammate Havon Finney. Those 2 guys look like they're ready to play in college probably right now. And so them reclassifying makes a lot of sense. Richard Wesley is an exciting prospect. I mean, he's 16, he's got that young frame, moldable clay type guy. He's watching Colin Simmons. He wants to talk to Colin Simmons. He wants to pick his brain. He wants to get to know this guy because he saw what Texas edge rushers did last season, and he thinks he has an opportunity to help out there. Now, they're going to have to battle some of those West Coast schools. USC, who has been recruiting at a really high clip early in this cycle, they're definitely in the mix. Oregon loves him. Oregon's going to be a school that they're going to have to battle and kind of fight off for him as well. But in Ohio State, Texas A&M, a couple other schools in the mix, it's virtually everybody. But I think those USC and Oregon are going to be the 2 that they're going to have to tug away. But Texas has really narrowed down its edge search, which I find fascinating because you've got Kamari Brooks, who's going to come on for an official visit as well. The numbers are short. Jaraylon McCoy is another one. The numbers are short. They're going to be particular with their edge takes this year. Why? Because they have really good veterans on campus already, and they have really good young talent that they've been recruiting, including a guy like a 5-star Lance Jackson in the last cycle. And so they're going to be super picky. Wesley knows that. Wesley recognizes that out of all the edge guys in the country, they think he's in the top 2 or 3. That's got them in the door. This weekend will be big. He hasn't been to Austin yet, but I can't wait to talk to him after he hangs out with Colin Simmons because I think that's going to really pay dividends.
All right. And now I want to talk about a pair of elite tight ends that are going to be on campus this weekend. And one of them, Mark Bowman, the number 2 ranked tight end in the country. How could I forget? He's also a reclassification. So Mark Bowman, Caden Prothrow are going to be on campus. Is one a priority over the other? I mean, both of them are elite, don't get me wrong, but is there a priority or can Texas take both?
Mark Bowen's the priority. Mark Bowen has been a priority since he entered high school. Jeff Banks recognized this guy at the Modern Day Pipeline. Texas has shown a penchant for opening that pipeline and grabbing guys from Brandon Baker, Spencer Shannon, a number of players in Modern Day. That this one could be the next. They absolutely love Mark Bowen. They have loved him from day one. It's funny. Jeff Banks has been talking to this kid for almost 3 years. He also, like Wesley, he's been watching Texas tight ends the last 3 years. And if you did, you watched Jatavian Sanders have 2 great seasons and Gunnar Helm have a tremendous season. Sanders already plays in the NFL. Helm's going to be drafted in April. He's another player he's been watching how they use him, and he talks to Spencer Shannon. That's another tight end from Modern Day that's on campus. And so Bowen's excited. And also there's some ties to Texas. He has family in Texas. I believe he has a couple family members that actually went to UT. He has no problem leaving the state and going somewhere else. And so Jeff Banks has made sure, the Texas tight end coach, that Bowen understands you are the guy. You are the priority. And in the last cycle, they took two. They took two last year. Nick Townsend and Amari Winston. Love what Jordan Washington brings on campus. He's going to play early as a redshirt freshman this year. They'll probably go to the portal for one more post spring. But man, Mark Bowen's different. Like, I hate using the comps because it can be lazy and it can be misleading. But he's like George Kittle already. He was playing receiver. He's playing receiver for 7-on-7 last weekend. My man Charlie Williams went down and hung out with him. He got such a good vibe from him. He put in an RPM 2 days later for Texas. And so he's the priority. Bowen's been the priority. It didn't matter what class. If this kid was in 2028, he'd be the priority. If he was in 2024, he'd be the priority. He's that good. He's that special. Texas loves him. Caden Prothrow's a guy that they're throwing their hat in the ring. They would love to really get in the mix here. And I think they've got a chance. They want to grab 2 tight ends in this cycle. And so I think they have a shot, but it's going to be tougher because you're going to try to pull this kid out of Georgia, which Texas, they've done that a few times. But, Kirby Smart likes to use tight ends too, and they've used them well. When you can talk about Brock Bowers and Darnell McDonald and Oscar Dell, they have some real good success stories at tight end in Athens, Georgia as well. And so I think that one's going to be a tougher pull. I do think it's interesting that Bowen and Prothro are coming in at the same time because I think they're going to be sold the same way. Hey, we're going to take 2. Why not take the 2 best in our eyes in the country? Why not join together? Make it a duo. Texas, we know how much Sark loves 12 personnel. Bowen's the priority. There may, outside of Dia Bell, Felix Ojo, and John Turntine, there might not be a more important recruit in the class from the offensive side, especially. And then Protho's a guy that they're just trying to make a dent in that recruitment, and they're trying to hold off Georgia and all those other big SEC powers.
All right, so we know Texas is heating up for the summer. Those are when the official visits are going to take place. But what's the rest of the spring look like for Longhorn recruiting? Is it kind of a slow trickle of guys coming in, or do they have a big date that we're looking forward to when elite prospects will be in campus? Inside Scoop fans, listen up. Finding last-minute tickets to the biggest college basketball tournament can be a nightmare. So don't miss the excitement of your favorite team making the finals or a great story of a sleeper making a deep run into the tourney. See it all in person with the help of Game Time. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the big-time matchups. Game Time app is great. It's easy to use, and it works in any city with any team, and you get the best price guaranteed. Do not stress over getting into your favorite team's game anymore. There's only so many big games, and you need to get these tickets at the best prices. Game Time is the best place for last-minute ticket deals. I love the seat view function. It's so cool. You get to see a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy it. Now, here's what we're going to do. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use redeem code ON3, that's ON, the number 3, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute ticket deals, lowest price guarantee.
April 26th could be a big date. That's the day that was the day that was going to be the spring game. And so they're essentially turning it into a fan fest now. And Dia Bell was actually in Austin last weekend for the Elite 11 to get his invite. And he was going to stay for a couple of days just to hang out with the team for their first practice, go through, hang out with the staff. And the staff told him, hey, we really need you back on the 26th of April if you don't mind. And so Dia, the lead recruiter of this class, he'll be back. I don't think there's going to be any big weekends. I think there's going to be a lot of little weekends. Like this weekend, I wouldn't necessarily say it's big, but there's a lot of star power there.
I wouldn't say it's little either.
You're not going to see a junior day like roster. You're not going to see 40 or 50 kids trickling out. You're going to see about a dozen. And I think it's going to be very similar to what they did last year. Bring in about 12 to 15 each weekend. Let them watch a scrimmage. Let them hang out with the players. Let the parents ask questions. I mean, the practice environment is big. I remember last year, one of the biggest selling points for Jamie French to Texas was Ryan Wingo getting run with the ones. And he thought, well, if a true freshman early enrollee can do that, I can do that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you wanted to see. Cade Phillips was watching the same thing with guys like Manny Muhammad and Kobe Black. And so it gets their attention when they get to do that. There's not one big weekend necessarily, but there's going to be some strong ones. And there's going to be some guys that kind of trickle in during the week. You're going to see some stuff after this weekend because we, obviously we hit into April. Jabari Mack just committed to LSU. He's supposed to be in early April. You've got guys like some big time wide receivers in 2027 and Zarek Sidney, Tay Ellis. They're going to be in on April 12th. Elijah Kimball, this new running back target out of Buffalo, New York. He's going to be in. Mason James, that's a guy Texas fans need to know. The Horns absolutely love the Norman North wide receiver for 2026. But they're just going to kind of slide in. Kosi Okpal, a big time linebacker out of Katy Matey Creek, he's going to be in as well. Not one big weekend, but there's going to be a chunk and segments of each one. This is Texas strategy. They're not going to overwhelm you with a bunch of guys. They're going to make sure it's a small group so you can get as much one-on-one time with these players and parents as possible. I kind of like the setup. And then I think for the Fan Fest, there's not a big name. There's not a big list, but there's some big names that are set to come. I think that's going to grow in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Of course it will. Now, Texas fans, talk to us. It's been too long since we talked Longhorn recruiting on this channel. Let me know how you're feeling about Texas recruiting and who's your priority target this cycle. Let us know. Let's talk some USC Trojan recruiting, and I got Scott Schrader here from We Are SC. Scott, you made some noise this week with a new prediction on Tom Tupoe. Fresh off that Oregon decommitment, what are you hearing?
Yeah, I'm hearing that this could be a potential addition to the USC recruiting class here in the near future. So I know it's somebody that they've been working really, really hard on. They made up a lot of ground in a relatively short period of time, and it's quite impressive that it got to this point. So yeah, it's looking pretty darn good for USC with him right now.
Yeah, and he is a standout at Mater Dei High School out there in California. And you happen to be at Mater Dei today talking with some of their top players. What intel you got for USC fans?
You got Cody Green, offensive lineman committed to Oregon. He's going to be on campus. I think he's on campus today or Saturday at USC. He also has an official visit set up for June. So he's another guy to keep an eye on. It's just a matter of him getting over to, according to him, it's just a matter of getting over to practice and seeing how Zach Hansen, USC's new offensive line coach, handles his guys in practices, and we'll see where things go from there. But then you got Caden Dixon-Wyatt, who is also going to be showing up for a few USC practices and take an official visit as well. He's not committed, but I think right now Oregon is probably the team to beat for him. So there's definitely a lot going on with Mater Dei, and we could go into the 2027 class too. And there's several guys visiting from that class as well this weekend.
All right. Now we got to talk about a huge name that was on campus this week. 5-star Brandon Arrington, going to be a defensive back on the next level. And heading into this visit, I would probably say USC had some ground to make up here. How do you feel USC did with this trip and where things stand with Arrington afterwards?
The feeling is after every visit, they feel like they've made up ground. And I think that USC is right there right now. I think it's going to come down to there are several guys for a few spots, and they're going after a lot of high profile guys at cornerback right now. None with his athletic ability, his speed, and his length is also pretty darn impressive as well at 6'3".
Yeah.
I think that he'll be back again for another spring practice. He's also got an official visit set up.
Okay.
And he's coming in at the same time as Tom Tupoe, Mark Bowman, Talanoa Ely. I think Kinye Pepe is going to be there also at the same time. There might be another one there too. It's going to be a pretty compact group, but a lot of high profile guys. And so I think that a lot's going to be determined in June, maybe not so much right now with him.
Okay. Reading We Are SC, your site on the On3 network, there was an intriguing name, Cohen Brown, wide receiver out of Texas. He was on campus this week. I get the feeling he could be a Trojan. What's the vibe you get?
Yeah, he left and he said USC's his number one right now. He's a guy that I actually had not seen play, hadn't really watched much of his film. He visited this weekend. I talked to him last night, and then I went and watched his huddle, and he looks like a guy who's going to rise significantly in the rankings at some point. USC is exceptionally high on him, and he doesn't have a lot of offers right now. He's got official visits set up to SMU, and in Kansas State, and I think Baylor, and then USC as well. So it'll be interesting to see how his recruitment plays out, but I think USC's in a really, really good spot with him right now.
Are we expecting another busy weekend on campus at USC?
Yes, it is going to be another busy weekend. In fact, I just got a list of the latest list of guys that are going to be there today and on Saturday. Visitor is Ryder Lyons. So he was not on my original list. So he'll be showing up today for practice along with a few other pretty important recruits. Saturday has got Nasir Rankin, Tamaine Purcell from Hawaii, a tight end. They got Jelaine Miller from Phoenix, Arizona. Cody Green, as I mentioned, he'll be there on Saturday. Duvay Williams, class of 2027, I think our number 2 ranked player in the country for that class. So they got Jet Washington coming in Saturday too. So yeah. And what's interesting is that, I'll get this list in the morning, and then probably by noon, there'll be some additions. So this recruiting staff at USC is putting in some serious work.
Yeah. Another weekend, another group of elite recruits going to be in Southern California. USC fans, talk to us. How are you guys feeling about some of these recent developments with Trojan recruiting? Let us know. Let's talk some Alabama recruiting, because just last night, the Tide land 5-star corner Jordan Edmonds out of the state of Georgia, and they're heating up on the trail. But first, I want to check in on a former 5-star quarterback, Keelan Russell. He is already on campus participating in spring practice. Tim Watts of Bama Online. What's the latest word on how Keelan Russell is developing?
I mean, he is as good as they thought he would be. I mean, you see him throwing balls. There's not a lot of video you're going to see. Alabama puts some out, though. He throws a pretty ball. He's confident. He relates well with his teammates. He relates well with the recruits on campus. We see him mentioned a lot. Again, you got, some debatably the number 1 quarterback in the country from Texas. Being from Texas is a big deal. But to be, basically the Gatorade Player of the Year, Mr. Football, whatever he's gotten in that state, he's as advertised so far. Obviously, the quarterback battle is going to go in a while. You have Ty Simpson, who's been there 3 years and has done a great job as well, and Austin Mack. But I think Keelan's everything they wanted him to be on and off the field.
Yeah, which is why he earned that 5-star status in the end. All right. Let's get into some Bama recruiting. But first, Alabama fans, I'm on here with Tim Watts from Bama Online. We want you guys to be a part of this. Hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. All right. So we know Bama recruiting really explodes in the summer under Kalen DeBoer. That's just how it went last year. So these spring visits are really important to set up that success in the summer. What big names were on campus this week?
Yeah, you're right about the spring. Last year, they did so much foot traffic. We'd never seen this equal because they were behind. This year's a different animal because they spent so much time in January on the road. They've already touched base with a lot of these kids and have been recruiting them. So getting them back on campus is, just kind of like the cherry on top and sets them up for the official visits. But, the big news yesterday obviously was Jordan Edmondson, getting him. But also you look up and you had Malachi Lee, the big monster Hawaiian offensive tackle, is on campus today. 6'7", 300+ pounds. Look, everything you're looking for in an offensive tackle. And with Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, Courtney Morgan, and Coach Cap, offensive line is a priority for Alabama in every class. They did a great job last year. They got Jackson Lloyd, who was a 3-star, ended up a 5-star. They had Michael Carroll, who was a lower rated 4-star, ended up a top 10-ish type player. So that's always a priority. And also this year, tight end is going to be a priority. They got 2 good ones last year, but I think they want to add one guy that can come in and impact pretty quickly. Max Sutter, top 100 type, he's on campus. Again, a lot of these visits are going on during the week based on their spring schedule. Obviously they're still in high school, but the foot traffic's heavy again. It's a lot of big names. It's not as many people as we saw last year. Last year was absurd. They had so many guys coming in. This year there's not as many, but there's so many big names that have come in so far.
Yeah, and when we talk Alabama recruiting, oftentimes these commitments come in bunches. So now that 5-star corner Jordan Edmonds is on the commit list, who could be the next big commit for Bama?
I think we're looking more. There could always be a commitment between now and official visits, but what are we, 6 weeks away? I mean, May 30th, Alabama has a massive, ever how many weeks that is. They have a massive recruiting official visitor weekend. There's a bunch of guys you're watching. Last year, when it started, first official visitor weekend through the middle of July, they had like 16 commitments. I don't know the exact number, but it was a smorgasbord of commitments. There could still be guys that trickle in right now. Guys that we're watching. I mean, obviously, Xavier Kroll plans to take his visits, but he's another one. That was a 2027 top running back in his class, moved up, still in that 5-star area, that top 32 area right now. He was on campus this week, and he's been there. I mean, he's almost double digits. He's been there. So there's guys we're watching. Nobody has a date set up. Even with Jordan Edmonds, he was set to commit on February 19th. Had some issues at the school where he wanted to commit, decided to take some visits, and then visited out. Didn't take any visits between it, visited Alabama and locked it down. So I think commitment plans, I think we see them more out of the blue, spur of the moment. I mean, Tristan Keys committed to LSU and was on Ole Miss's campus, a few hours later, probably wearing LSU gear. So I think right now they're more of spur of the moment with commitments, but nothing's planned.
Yeah, so we'll see. Big names on campus all throughout the spring. Bama recruiting is red hot. Tim, I love doing these Alabama videos because no other fan base does this. But in the comment section, the Bama fans always check in from whatever city in America that they're watching. So Bama fans, let me know. You guys are going to do it anyway in the comment section, but let me know, where are you guys watching from? Let's talk some Florida Gator football. I want to talk about a former 5-star recruit that's going to break out this season. Also, a former 3-star that's going to outplay that ranking. We got On3 national scout Cody Belair. Cody, spring practice is underway. Who you got as your breakout 5-star?
Yeah, Josh, I think Florida fans have a lot to be excited about going into next season with former 5-stars DJ Lagway and Trey Wilson connecting on the offensive side of the football. But my former 5-star breakout player to watch out is on the defensive side of the football, and that would be defensive end LJ McCray. We saw him play a decent amount of snaps last season, seeing the field just under 150 times last year. But this is a defensive front that's lost a ridiculous amount of bodies to the transfer portal during the winter cycle opening. And of course, they've added some pieces back themselves via the portal, but they don't have a lot of proven talent coming back up front. And that's where LJ McCray is going to have to develop and turn into the player that the Gators were banking on when they signed him out of high school this time last year. He's got all the physical and athletic tools to be a dominant 3-down defender at this level. And it's just about taking that next step in his development and putting all of the pieces of the puzzle together to reach his full potential.
Yeah, I can't wait to see LJ McCray on the field this fall. I mean, that was one of those classic Big 3 battles where you had UF, FSU, and Miami all dueling it out for one of the best in-state. Now, LJ McCray going into his second year at UF, fired up to see what he does on the field. Cody, how about a 3-star, a former 3-star, that you think could outplay that ranking this season?
Yeah, Josh, I'll admit it. I'm going to take a cop-out on this one, and I'm going to take 2 players as my potential breakout 3-star candidate. And that's whoever's going to end up winning the starting right tackle job out of Devin Manuel and Bryce Lovett. Both of these guys were industry 3-star prospects coming out of high school, and both have very similar playing styles, being more dominant pass blockers than run blockers. Devin Manuel has the slightly longer, more athletic frame, standing in a nearly 6'7", where Bryce Lovett has the sturdier, denser 6'5", 320-plus pound build that allowed him to play some significant snaps actually last year as an interior offensive lineman. But I think this is one of the bigger battles going into Florida camp this year, because whoever wins it will be playing for one of the stronger offensive line units returning in the SEC.
All right, Gator fans, talk to us. Who are you most excited about? Give us a former 5-star and a 3-star breakout. Let us know. Comment section below.